Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. You're watching Newsroom. I'm your host, Khalid. But today is the 24th of August, 2021, and we'll be discussing the following stories during the course of our show. We'll begin, ladies and gentlemen, with the government's efforts to boost investor confidence that is now yielding results. There is a survey that has been done by the Business Confidence Index, the BCI, that says that the overall business confidence score stood at 9%, up from minus 50% in the preceding survey that was held in May of last year. Of course, our Prime Minister Imran Khan also tweeted about this very healthy and this very good news as far as the business community in Pakistan is concerned. The business environment in Pakistan is also concerned. The government has been endeavoring to boost the business environment in the country, and the results are now showing. This is going to be our leading segment of the day. Then we will be discussing Pakistan's inclusive role or Pakistan's role for an inclusive arrangement as far as the Afghan process or the Afghan future is concerned. Now, Foreign Minister Qureshi has also said that Pakistan's role in the push to create an inclusive political environment was being recognized the world over, and he's also going to visit very important countries starting from today to discuss the future of Afghanistan as well. At the same time, there are a lot of developments in Afghanistan as well that we'll be discussing in detail during the course of our second segment. Then in our third segment, we'll be talking about the latest developments as far as the NCOC are concerned. Mr. Asad Umar has given certain new decisions that have been taken in the NCOC, whether it be starting from the 1st of September, vaccination of 17 years old and will be beginning. And of course, this is in order to vaccinate more and more people, especially the youth of our country. And of course, for the vaccination of 15 and 16-year-olds, the vaccination dates are going to be announced later. There are a lot of other decisions that have also been taken in the NCOC. We will be discussing that. Then finally, we will be talking about the Israeli troops that have killed a Palestinian teenager in the occupied West Bank. Imad Khaleh Saleh Hashash, who was 15 years of age, died after sustaining a gunshot wound in the head by the Israeli forces. And of course, the number of Israeli killings have started to increase. And this after a truce that had been decided between the two sides after the long, of course, siege of Gaza by the Israeli forces a couple of months back. Let's begin with our first segment, ladies and gentlemen, that concerns the economic environment in the country, the whole situation as far as Pakistan's economy is concerned. A survey has been done by the Business Confidence Index, and this survey says that the OICCI or the Overseas Investor Chamber of Commerce and Industry, this was a survey conducted by it, and it says that in the country from May to July, it showed that the overall business confidence score, or the BCS, stood at 9%, up from minus 50% in the preceding survey that was held in May of last year. Of course, our Prime Minister also took to Twitter. He talked about this very healthy, very positive development as far as the economic outlook of Pakistan is concerned. He said more good news on the economic front. The OICCI's BCI survey shows Pakistan standing at a positive score of 9%, an improvement of 59% from minus 50% in May of last year. The OICCI members' confidence stands at plus 34% versus minus 74% in the year 2020, a turnaround of 108%, and dramatic rise in confidence of business, especially foreign investors. This is what our Prime Minister tweeted as far as the economic environment is concerned. Of course, the government is endeavoring to improve Pakistan's economy. A lot of different measures have been taken by the government. At the same time, as far as the IMF and Pakistan's relationship is concerned, the State Bank of Pakistan will be receiving $2.75 billion from the IMF. This receipt is expected to the country's foreign currency reserves to all-time high of $20.4 billion US dollars. As we stand, of course, this is a part of the deal that was signed and agreed upon between the IMF and Pakistan. This Washington-based global leader, of course, has released the funds under its historic funding of $650 billion US dollars for the developing and developed member countries. And of course, is also in respect and with respect to what has been happening as far as COVID-19 and the pandemic and how it has affected the economies, whether those be of the developing countries or the developed nations. All the countries have been affected by COVID-19 as far as that is concerned. Now, let's talk to our guest for this very segment who will be joining us, but we'll talk in detail with him after the short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching Newsroom, and let's talk about the latest situation in Afghanistan, whether it be Pakistan's role for inclusive arrangement in Afghanistan that has been recognized the world over, as has been enunciated by Shah Mahmood Qureshi Saab, or the Taliban that have given a warning to the US or its allies to not extend their stay beyond the 31st of August. More in the following report.
In geographically and strategically treacherous Afghanistan has always been a costly adventure. The Afghanistan issue has left myriad pressing challenges ahead which require serious introspection by all stakeholders. Amid ensuing chaos, US has racketed up Kabul airlift as withdrawal deadline looms. The Taliban spokesman Suhail Shaheen has categorically declared that if the United States and its allies extend their presence in Afghanistan beyond 31st of August, it would be considered as extended occupation and there would be consequences. According to Taliban spokesman, the group is cautious about potential security threats posed by ISIS while blaming the self-exiled Ghani administration of prematurely leaving security posts that led to chaotic scenes at Kabul airport. Kabul airport has been gripped by fear and chaos since the fall of Kabul on 15th of August. The most consequential factor for Pakistan is that whether its western neighbor embarks on trajectory towards sustainable peace. Another tempting question is the looming threat of civil war against the backdrop of escalating Afghan resistance and disenchantment among the public. The perils of unilateral exclusive Taliban rule are translating into frenzy and delusion regarding country's future prospects. Pakistan has attempted to ensure inclusive and comprehensive peace settlement in the country, and it was Islamabad's relentless diplomacy which brought Afghan Taliban to the negotiating table. The only solution to circumvent turmoil in Afghanistan is formation of inclusive political government which accords due share to all politico-social segments of society. Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi on Monday reiterated that Pakistan is working for an inclusive, broad-based arrangement in Afghanistan in synchronization with the international community. It is pertinent to mention here that given the chaotic situation of Afghanistan, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson is gearing up to press US President Joe Biden to extend the evacuation deadline from Afghanistan when Group of 7 leaders will discuss Afghan endgame today. The military...
I will talk more about this very important topic and of course what is happening in our neighboring country Afghanistan. Things are developing at a very rapid pace. We've been joined by Kashoon Leeza. She's an advocacy specialist with the think tank IPRI. Thank you very much, Kashoon, to have joined us. First of all, how important is this resolve by Pakistan for an inclusive arrangement in our neighboring country, that is Afghanistan?
Thank you for having me over, and this is very critical. Pakistan has been time and over again, and not just now, but even previously over the 2 decades, Pakistan has been pushing, to recognize Taliban as a political entity and to push for a negotiated settlement in Afghanistan, because peace in Afghanistan is not possible without a negotiated settlement. And in that case, even before last week when there was the Taliban took over Kabul in Afghanistan, even before that, Pakistan was willing to host the Afghan leaders in Pakistan, but that was, unfortunately, due to some reasons which involved even Afghanistan's ex-president Ashraf Ghani, who basically asked Pakistan to postpone that meeting of hosting Afghan ethnic leaders into Pakistan, and Pakistan exclusively mentioned that it does not have any favorites in Afghanistan, because you see at this point stability and peace in Afghanistan is the only national interest for Pakistan and nothing more.
All right. Let's also talk about Suhail Shaheen, the Taliban spokesperson, who has given some statements as far as the current situation in Afghanistan is concerned. Let's talk about the situation, the chaotic situation at the airport in Kabul. And he blames Ashraf Ghani and the former Afghan government for it. Do you feel the situation that we've also heard about with firing that happened on Sunday will be resolved at the earliest, or do you feel this is something that is going to continue?
And I would like to just say that at this point, it would not be wrong to say that had Ashraf Ghani not fled the country the way he did, situation would have been a bit different in Afghanistan. That triggered the panic and chaos in Afghanistan. So, you would see that, the Taliban have asked for the evacuation, not only for the withdrawal of foreign troops from Afghanistan, and without that, they are not ready to negotiate for a political settlement. And the airport is not guarded at the moment, and which is why you're seeing such a chaos at the airport. But Taliban, however, have mentioned that they are ready to, they are protecting any any spillover or any fallout of a security situation in Afghanistan. They are at this moment they are also saying that they will facilitate the evacuation process as much as they can, but also we cannot say that this will stop or this is going to stop. This chaotic scenes, unfortunately, we will witness them over time.
All right, but this chaos, do you feel really that it's just Ashraf Ghani's exit that was responsible for that, or is it also the reputation that the Taliban had previously in their previous government that has forced a lot of people to change their current, city or place of residence?
I think there were multiple factors which involved both of which you said. I mean, it was, of course, President Ghani's the move that he fled from the country triggered somewhat of it, and then again Taliban's past, their past in the 1990s, also gives a glimpse, and there's lack of acceptance in Kabul particularly over how Taliban are going to react or they're going to act, how is their governance going to look like because of their past, which is why again domestic and even international legitimacy is difficult for Taliban to get because of their past.
All right, let's also talk about the different other factions that are present in Afghanistan, for which Pakistan has already forewarned the Afghan Taliban, whether it be the TTP, whether it be the ISIS. Now, I'd like to quote something that was said by the Taliban spokesperson. He said, "We are cautious about the ISIS potential to attack the airport, but that our intelligence office is active." Is there any threat from such factions in Afghanistan, despite the fact that the Afghan Taliban have emerged quite strong this time?
The political landscape in Afghanistan is very fluid. So I think it would be pragmatic to stay open for any outcomes right now in Afghanistan, since you know that there's withdrawal of troops. But however, Afghanistan have maintained a hold in Kabul, a military hold in Kabul. And as far as TTP is concerned, there was a prison break just last week. In terms of ISIS, I don't suspect there's going to be any attack anytime soon. But looking at the fluid situation in Afghanistan, one can say that any outcome is possible.
All right. Now, what about the formation of the government in Afghanistan? Do you feel this is going to be a long and tedious process? Because, of course, there are negotiations between different factions, whether it be Abdullah and Hikmatyar and the so-called other alliances that are present across the country, Panjshir and so on and so forth. There's also the anti-Taliban faction that is present there that is ready for negotiation. Do you feel all of this process might take longer than usual?
So what we were seeing in the last week, it appeared that the negotiated settlement might come at an earlier stage, but right now, as you've seen the events turn out in Panjshir, there's some reports that there's some sort of resistance in Panjshir, and Panjshir is a stronghold of Ahmad Shah Massoud. Ahmad Shah Massoud was just right in Pakistan last week for the negotiated settlement. The point is that it all depends on the incentives of each party. It's pragmatic. It's hopeful to hope for a negotiated settlement in a time.
Because this is what the Taliban spokesperson has also said, that they can forcefully take up Panjshir, but they want to go for a negotiated settlement. This is also what the anti-Taliban forces have said, that they want to go for talks or negotiation. Do you feel that the political landscape in Afghanistan has changed from the previous time the Afghan Taliban were in power?
The actually negotiation is in favor of all the political actors in Afghanistan. If you see, for the Taliban, they need domestic and international legitimacy. I mean, US just stopped 9.5 billion aid to the Afghan assets, financial assets to Afghanistan just when Taliban took over. Afghanistan, of course, need finances. They have said that the whole international community have asked Taliban to exercise, restraint because they will not let financial assistance into Afghanistan if there is no if there's a humanitarian outbreak. So all of this falls into place and incentivizes a negotiated settlement for Taliban, and even for the other Afghan ethnic groups. You see, Taliban are in a position of dominance right now. They need to negotiate a settlement in order to have some sort of leverage.
All right. Now, speaking of leverage, what kind of leverage does the Afghan Taliban government have with the other countries that it has been in talks with in the last few months, whether it be Russia, whether it be Iran, whether it be Pakistan, of course, that has been gearing up for an Afghan-owned and an Afghan-led peace process, whether it be the Central Asian states or Russia?
Yeah, that's a very good question. At this point, it doesn't seem like we need to worry about what leverage Taliban have with these other external players in Afghanistan. The point is whether these players, despite the Taliban's leverage, are going to recognize the Taliban government or not. And at this point, it appears that the international community, including Pakistan, is not going to recognize the Taliban government until there are some sort of reassurance from Taliban on their actions.
All right. Now, when we talk of reassurance from Taliban, do you feel that the world or the different important countries, whether it be US that, as you said, has frozen the assets of Afghanistan that were to be given to it as aid, or the other important countries like the European Union, like the United Kingdom, that has certain reservations as far as Afghanistan is also concerned. Do you feel that the current government or the Afghan Taliban can make the international bodies understand the current situation in the country so that they can move forward and go for some kind of a settlement as far as stabilizing Afghanistan is concerned?
The situation right now is very tricky for Taliban, and as the first presser that was held by Mullah Brother in the presidential palace in Kabul, he just mentioned that the trial for Taliban starts now. That is that they have to prove the international community that they have changed, and the groups has not only changed their tactics but have also changed the way they're going to operate in the country. And that's a very tricky situation for the Taliban themselves, because they need recognition, they need legitimacy, and in order to do so, they have to prove their own credibility. But again, the international community is closely monitoring the Afghan Taliban. And a very important point to note here is that there is a faction, even in Taliban, that was something that some talks that were reports that were going on before the Taliban took over Kabul, that whether Taliban are going to exercise military restraint or not, because the Taliban leadership in Qatar was a bit different from the Taliban commanders that were on ground in Afghanistan. So the international community keeps in mind this faction, and keeps in mind that what can stop the Taliban from taking revenge, what they call it, because of the situation and what happened in 1990s and their behavior. So that puts Taliban in a very tricky situation, because they have to prove their credibility to the world, not only by 100% but by 200%, because even a slightest action of violence in Kabul or in Afghanistan will just tarnish Taliban's credibility, even if they say that they're going to support women rights, they're going to support women ingress into the political circles, in education system. That's according to the West, that's just their PR. So, I mean, the actions on ground have to match the rhetoric, and that only can save the Taliban.
Now, speaking of actions on the ground, this is my last question to you. There are, of course, certain segments that believe that the US presence might extend beyond the 31st of August, and that has been severely criticized by the Taliban spokesperson. He says it's going to be a forceful occupation, an extended occupation, if the US forces continue to stay beyond the 31st of August. Do you feel relations could be further strained in Afghanistan if the US forces, if they stay beyond the 31st of this month?
Certainly, I believe so that the situation is going to get even more critical in Afghanistan if that happens. But again, as you mentioned, there's a big if with it because there's division in Washington itself over the withdrawal, the delay of the withdrawal of the military troops from Afghanistan. President Biden's presser, which was just last week, he mentioned that U.S. does not need to have permanent presence in Afghanistan to carry out its counter-terrorism and insurgency actions in Afghanistan itself. So, but there are some groups in Washington that mention that U.S. needs to take out some Afghans who have been helping U.S. With the operations in Afghanistan, and that will have humanitarian consequences. But it's unlikely that there will be a delay of the withdrawal. But even if that happens, that's not going to be taken favorably by the Taliban. And on that note, I want to mention that also puts Pakistan at a difficult position, because at one end there's a humanitarian crisis going on, and Pakistan has been very active into that. I had some acquaintances in Kabul who mentioned that Pakistan was the only country who was giving unconditional visas at this moment, and no other country. So at one end, Pakistan is dealing with the humanitarian crisis, but at the other end, if there is a delay in the withdrawal of troops, that will not be seen favorably by the Taliban, and that again puts Pakistan at a difficult position, because the world seems to think that Pakistan exercises considerable leverage over Taliban, and the pressure again would be put on Pakistan. So that's also going to put Pakistan in a difficult position, I believe so.
All right. Thank you very much, Kashoon, Leeza, to have joined us, advocacy specialist from IPRI, to have talked to us about the latest situation as far as Afghanistan is concerned. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, it's pertinent to note that there are so many ifs and buts as far as what is happening in Afghanistan is concerned. Things are changing at a very rapid pace in our neighboring country. And it is pertinent to note that at this moment, the most important, the crucial thing that needs to happen is that there needs to be some form of political stability inside of Afghanistan, so that it could give confidence to those nations who are skeptical about the Afghan Taliban taking over Afghanistan again because of the past, the last time they were in power. But of course, seeing and hearing the latest statements about what has been going on and transpiring in Afghanistan by the Afghan Taliban, those statements that have emanated from them, it seems that there is that the Afghan Taliban have turned a new leaf, or have understood the political arena of the whole region, and that they are willing to move along with the times. Let's hope and let's pray that it goes as well as planned, and we go for an Afghan-led peace process with all the factions coming together. Our segment that we were talking about before the break also concerned economy and Pakistan, and of course the report that has come from the Business Confidence Index survey that talks about a lot of positivity as far as the investor confidence in Pakistan is concerned. We've been joined by Dr. Hasnain Javed, who's a leading economist. Dr. Saab, thank you very much to have joined us. How do you see this survey by the BCI? I mean, does that come to you as a surprise? Do you feel it was expected? Or do you feel that really the economic arena, the economic environment of Pakistan is becoming more and more vibrant?
For me, it is quite forecasted because it is predictable. The three major points are like one should be forecasted and predictable. So to me, it's forecasted because I can see that Pakistan 6 months before, the budget was a tremendous budget, was up to the mark. Budget was, considering all the sectors, all those gaps which were never being filled by any government. So budget, the 2021 and 2022 was the surprising budget for everyone. So now it actually filled up the gap. So this, if we can see that the Pakistan up to 59 points in this index, so it is not that much amazing for me because it is quite forecasted. But for whole of the Pakistan, it is a tremendous and excellent news that OICCI's BCCI survey shows Pakistan standing at the positive score of 9%, an improvement of 59% from -50 score of May 20. So I just wanted to tell you that it is completely 360-degree turn. Like it was minus 50. Now it is positive 50 and the 9% of the increase. Then if we could say that the OCCI MBRC confidence survey, I would like to talk on that particular mathematical point is the plus 34% versus minus 74% in 2020. So condition was very bad in 2020 because the international lobbies, international business consortium, international investors were not so, clear. It was there are so many ambiguities. The investors' confidence is not that much built it. At that point in time, it was minus 74%. Now the dramatic turn and the confidence has been raised, and now especially the foreign investor is turned around by 108%. So if you ask me about the survey, so where it been taken by it is done by face-to-face surveys, is continuously covered by the 80% of the GDP with the higher weight of given the key business center, which is Karachi, Lahore, Rawalpindi, Islamabad, and Faisalabad. So,
all right, what are the factors, Dr. Saab, that you feel have pointed towards this positive development within a year's time? Because, 12 months is a very short span of time to have had this major increase as far as investor confidence is concerned.
See, first of all, there are already, in the last discussion we have discussed that there's a large-scale manufacturing. Second is the small and medium enterprise. Third is slaughtering. In all these sectors, Pakistan has done so well. The 76.4% of the LSM has been working so well. The power sector, the automobile sector, even you have seen that the motorbikes are up to the reach. Even we are exporting 10% of the motorbikes to the other countries. Now we have very good connection with Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan. Landlocked countries are depending on us. The different countries are depending on us. Secondly, the small and medium enterprise, it was 6.6%. Now the respected Shaukat Tareen Saab and the Abdul Razak Daud, I must appreciate Abdul Razak Daud again, because of the Ministry of Commerce has putting up so many difficult decisions, as they have a DLTL. There is a policy in the leather sector, DLTL. They are exempted the DLTL. They have given the subsidies to the textile industry. They have given the subsidy to the large scale manufacturing, and they are working for the small and medium enterprise. So 40% respondent from the manufacturing sector, 35% of the service sector, and 25% of the wholesalers. So major part is the manufacturing. Now Pakistan is working on a manufacturing and the exports of the manufacturing. This is playing the vital role in as per your question is working on. So this gives the real confidence to the international investor. So working into this, so Chinese investors are coming there. Belarus is working here. European companies are coming here. So overall, the confidence and most probably the Prime Minister Imran Khan's visit to for the business and investment. Most of the people thinks that the Pakistan or the Prime Minister or the head of the country, chief executive, mostly work for the relationship building, but he focuses on the economy because he considers himself that we are. Yes, we, supposedly we are from the third world countries and we have to, but vitally and geographically, we are so much important after the Afghanistan matter. Still, Afghanistan have to be with us for the economic reason, economic growth.
Of course, so it has to be a stable country in order for the economy in Pakistan to further stabilize and enhance as well. Do you feel all of this development also goes in line with what the State Bank of Pakistan had predicted at the end of July, when it had talked about the GDP growth and when it had talked about the reserve buffers and all the rest? Do you feel that this is going in line with what the State Bank of Pakistan has predicted?
Yes, of course. So let me share the driving forces been given by the State Bank of Pakistan, and under the latest BCS, or the increasing optimism of the optimism respond regarding this, is respectively the business situation would be in the 21%, industry business situation would be 19%, own business situation would be the 20%, anticipated sales volume increase would increase by 20%, profit increase would be 22%, and return on investment increase by 19%. So this is the shape of turn down position. It is completely the feedback by the OICC, and the State Bank of Pakistan is very much optimistic, and I have given you the exact statistical number which shows the business confidence on Pakistan.
At the end of July, also, the IMF had acknowledged the robust economic activity in Pakistan, and now we see that a part of a tranche of the loan has also been given and approved as far as Pakistan is concerned, $2.75 billion US dollars. Do you feel also that the international crediting companies are showing more confidence in Pakistan because of this robust economic activity?
Yes, that's a very fine question, by the way. Just robust advancement in manufacturing, and I would see in the small and medium enterprise. But obviously, Shaukat Tareen Saab and the Prime Minister have taken this charge, and he have taken the meeting with the small and medium enterprise quorum, that they have to establish a confidence on the local businesses, which will expand in the other 6 months, which would be expecting expansion of the business operation for about 25%, planning new capital investment for about 39%, and indicating planning for the increasing empowerment in their respective business would be around 12%. So in that case, not even IMF, you know that IMF was not that much in our favor for about, in past 6 months before. So now they have to be with us, because the situation is quite, robust, and it is turned on effect. It is completely reshaping the economy, and of course we will see the positive effects in the business and economy, and the small and medium enterprise, I can see that will flourish like anything, just because of the better policies. And Prime Minister Imran Khan is looking forward in the way in the international consortium and IMF positively. They have to subsidize different things in a different way. Those sanctions and the half wages must be cut it out, because whosoever they have confirmed to deliver, they must have to promise and complete the promise as per the given point.
A lot of promises are being, of course, being shown as a result of which the investor confidence has increased, and which gives rise to, of course, robust economic activity in Pakistan. Thank you very much, Dr. Hasnain Javed Saab, leading economist, to have joined us and to have talked about the latest developments as far as Pakistan's economy and the confidence that the different organizations have shown because of this robust economic activity in Pakistan. Let's go towards COVID-19 and the latest decisions that have been taken by the NCOC in the wake of that. Mr. Asad Umar also tweeted about those decisions. More in the following report.
The intermittent resurgence of COVID-19 novel variants and resultant havoc depict the global battle against pandemic is protracted. The unprecedented spread of novel variants and catastrophic consequences indicate that resilience and commitment to follow SOPs is key to win this existential battle. Instead of letting the pandemic hamper our economic and social lives or to inflict irreparable emotional damage, it's cogent to pay heed to directives issued by National Command and Operations Centre, the nerve centre of all COVID-related synchronized efforts. According to recent NCOC directives issued in the wake of spread of Indian origin Delta variant, it's mandatory for all air passengers, including those on incoming and outgoing international flights, to be fully vaccinated against COVID-19 by 30th September. The forum also stressed that vaccination is obligatory for those employed in various sectors, adding that the first dose of COVID-19 vaccine should be taken by 31st of August and the second by 30th of September. Dr. Faisal Sultan, Special Assistant to the Prime Minister on Health, briefing on the occasion, said a booster shot could be considered for frontline health workers aged above 50 after 6 months or their second dose. According to statistics issued by NCOC, 80 patients died during the past 24 hours, raising nationwide death toll since the eruption of the contagion to 25,003. Delta variant spreads faster than the original Wuhan strain, and according to virologists, Delta variant is the fastest, fittest, and most formidable version of the coronavirus. According to microbiologist Sharon Peacock, who runs Britain's efforts to sequence the genomes of coronavirus variants, the biggest risk to the world at the moment is simply Delta. The dramatic demonstration of virus mutation and evolving exhibits the future nature of variants and thus equips us with knowledge to design health orders. UNICEF representative in Pakistan, Ada Gurma, commended Pakistan's efforts to fight the recurrent waves of coronavirus.
Well, these are the different decisions that we've seen in the report as far as what has transpired at the NCOC. And of course, the 17 to 18 year bracket will be given those vaccines starting with the 1st of September. For the 15 and 16 years old, the date will be announced later. Also, Dr. Faisal Sultan said that the pregnant and lactating women also need to be taking these vaccinations, not ParkVac, because there are certain risks for pregnant and lactating women, but the rest of the vaccines can be taken by them. And it's very important because, of course, if they do not take, the risks are much higher than if they take it. Finally, a Palestinian youth, Imad Khalid Saleh Hashash, 15 years of age, has died after sustaining injuries that were inflicted by the Israeli forces, and the number of Palestinian child killings is continuing to rise. This after a truce that had been announced some time back between the Israelis and the Palestinians. What the Israeli army says that it conducted an overnight operation in this camp where this young man was killed to apprehend a suspect. Now, deadly violence against Palestinians is common in the West Bank. This is, of course, a Palestinian territory Israel occupied since 1967. Also on Monday, Egypt has announced it was closing its border crossing with Gaza, citing difficulties in talks as far as ceasefire is concerned. We just hope that a proper negotiated settlement comes also as far as Palestine is concerned. The people have suffered for way too long since 1967. We are now 2021. I hope the powers that be understand that perspective as well. With that, we come to an end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with new stories, new segments. Take care of yourselves, get yourself vaccinated, and follow the SOPs. Allah Hafiz.